All right, we're just waiting for everybody to connect here. And Ms. Peters does not yet have audio. All right, good afternoon. I am referee Brian Nicholas from the Macomb County Family Court, and we're here this afternoon on the case of Prince versus Peters, case number 2023-3435 DP. And sir, could you please state your name for the record?
Shante is Prince.
All right, and ma'am, could you please state your name for the record?
Courtney Peters.
All right, I want to thank you guys both for appearing via Zoom today. Even though you're appearing remotely, please realize this is a court proceeding just as if you guys were here and present in the courtroom. Mr. Prince or Ms. Peters, any questions regarding the fact that this is a legal proceeding today?
No.
All right, and Mr. Prince, any questions?
No, Jan.
Okay, and sir, this is your motion requesting paternity testing to establish paternity of a minor child, Chloe, who's currently age 2?
Yes.
Okay. So in your complaint, in your motion, you assert that there is another person named as a father who is a support case. Is that correct, Ms. Peters?
Yes.
So there's a support case. What county is that out of?
Macomb County.
Okay. And do you have that case number handy by any chance? Or know that case number?
No, I don't.
Okay. And who's the named father of Chloe?
Kevin Zia.
Okay. And was that a case where you guys signed a paternity acknowledgement or you guys litigated paternity? How did you bring that through the prosecutor's office, the establishment department, or how did you bring that case regarding Mr. Zia?
Yes, we brought it to the prosecuting office.
Okay. And Mr. Prince, did you serve Mr. Zia as a defendant in this case? Include him as a defendant?
No.
Yeah. So Mr. Zia has been adjudicated to be the father. So you are now asking to undo him as the father so you can be made the father. But Mr. Zia has to be included in the litigation because he may not be in agreement with that. So are you guys in full discussion between the three of you, or Mr. Zia is not part of this conversation?
Are you
Anyone
talking
can
with
answer
me?
me. Either one of you can
answer.
answer me.
Oh, I'll answer, Your Honor. Me and Kevin stay together, so he's well aware of what's going on with my case, but yeah, that's it.
So what is Mr. Zia's feelings about all this?
His feelings are that, he's been taking care of Chloe since she's been born, and he doesn't contest paternity because he feels that he loves her, he takes care of her. So you guys decided to do a paternity test recently, is that correct? Correct. Me and Shante.
Yeah. And that showed that Mr. Prince is the biological father of Chloe rather than Mr. Zia. And he's still, ma'am, you're still with him. He's your boyfriend, fiance, or partner, however you describe it.
We're still together.
And does Chloe know Mr. Zia as her dad?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a couple of things here. So procedurally, Mr. Zia has to be part of this litigation. Generally, you would file this action under their support case, but I'll let it proceed under a paternity. But this is a revocation of paternity action. This is technically, Mr. Prince, you trying to revoke Mr. Zia's adjudicated paternity of what under the law is his daughter. And so part of this is, what is Mr. Zia's feeling? Does he want to be her dad even though he's not the biological father?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so he does not want to relinquish paternity of Chloe, even if he's not her biological father. He feels that she's his child, that he's raised.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that makes it a bit more complicated because, sir, you now have to prove that it's in your child's best interest to have the man she knows as her father, his paternity revoked, his adjudicated paternity. So let's see here what we can do. One thing, he has to be included in this case. So 1 second here. I'm just going to go over this.
So am I able to ask a question, Your Honor?
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
So even though I'm the biological father and I'm fighting for parental rights and to be in the child's life, if the other party doesn't wish to relinquish their rights, what would be the next?
Well, the court has to determine that it's in your child's best interest to revoke Mr. Zia's rights. The court's probably not going to want to refuse you the right to be a parent, but it complicates the matter because when these usually come up, it's usually the third party father, who's there is willing to revoke their paternity and is in here saying, not my child. I don't want to be the father, held liable for support anymore. I'm more than happy the new father stepping in. That's not the situation you're in. You're in a situation where Mr. Zia is like, I want to remain the father. I'm on the birth certificate. I have a judgment of support against me. Even though I'm not the biological father, I'm more than happy to be the legal father and be bound as this child's father. So that's the issue here, is how the court resolves that. Will they say, well, this child's 2, and therefore we're not going to deprive the biological father of being the father? It's one of the more complicated nuances because usually this isn't the situation. Like I said, it's usually the situation is the third party father who's not biologically the parent is more than happy to relinquish their paternity. In this case, again, that's not the situation we're in.
Right. Well, Your Honor, the reason that we're here this afternoon is because I was unaware that I was a father starting in 2020. And now that I just found out this past December that I'm trying to step up as a father and take care of my child. Whoever Miss Peters dates or is with is none of my concern. Whatever gentleman she chooses to be with can still participate in the child's life and help her assist in raising. But me as a biological father, I would, like my rights. Now, in the case of Chloe, no one knew who the biological father was, because if they did, she informed me that both parties were tested, so she had to test him first. So obviously she didn't test him first before he signed and got his rights.
All right. So, ma'am, do you want to respond to that? Mr. Prince is saying at the time you told him Mr. Zia took the paternity test, he was determined to be the father, but that in fact was not true. That he really didn't take the test, or was there a test?
No, there was not a test between me and Kevin Zia regarding Chloe. No.
Okay. All right.
He was at the hospital with me when I gave birth to Chloe, so he willingly signed the birth certificate, knowing if she could or couldn't be here.
So when was Mr. Prince advised that he could be the father? How did this all occur?
I messaged him on Facebook in December of 2022. And I told him through the messages, hey, I need you to take a DNA test because I want you to know that you possibly have a daughter out here. And we took an at-home DNA test. And when the results came back 2 weeks later, it was determined he was 99.99% father.
All right. And what led you to contact him to say, hey, you could be the dad?
At the time, last year, Me and Kevin had our typical issues, and we just wanted like a clear conscience within our household. Hey, there's a possibility that Chloe isn't mixed because he's Caucasian. And I told him that I would get Shantez, hopefully get him to take the DNA test. So, yeah.
Okay. So when you in 2022 filed for support through the prosecutor's office, you thought Mr. Zaya was the parent at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And he got a default judgment entered against him, it looks like.
Yes. He couldn't make the case because he was in safe step for recovery. So he couldn't make it.
Yeah, that was was he going to come and say he didn't want the judgment entered against him?
I believe he spoke with someone at the Macomb County Court and they established that. I can ask him. Did you want me to ask him? Here.
No, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
And you said he was unavailable on August because of why on August 29th?
He was at Safe Step. It's a recovering
A rehab?
Like a rehab center, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So you're going to have to amend this complaint to include Mr. Zia. You can't ask to rescind somebody's paternity without serving them and bringing them in as part of this case. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You're going to have to amend your complaint to include Mr. Zia as a defendant.
Okay.
He's got a judgment entered against him. Or support.
Right.
Did somebody assist you with this? How did you go about filing this?
Yeah, I just did a lot of legwork back and forth to the courthouse. I've actually never met the gentleman or anything. I had no way of getting in contact with him to let him be aware of these actions, because I definitely would have.
You didn't know that Miss Peters was still with Mr. Zia, back with him?
I'm sorry, say it again.
You didn't know that he was back with Miss Peters and they were reconciled and back together?
On and off, she.
Okay.
Yeah, and I totally was unaware that they lived together. The time that me and Miss Peters were talking from December up until a few months ago, she told me that they were not living together.
Okay. And ma'am, he is living with you now, is that correct?
Yes.
At your current address? And what address is that?
501.
Okay. And that case number, as an aside, is 2022-0773-DS. So guys, I'm going to take a brief recess because I want to procedurally figure out to make sure I'm not doing this incorrectly. But you, at the very minimum, you have to include him as a defendant. My question is whether this should be filed as an action under the DS case previously, or in this case as a DP, which is a paternity case. So I'm just going to put you on hold for a moment. You guys have a minute to wait in the waiting room?
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Okay, so guys, I'm going to take a brief recess. I will be right back. All right, guys, recalling the case of Prince versus Peters, case number 2023-3435 DP. All right, so what I wanted to make sure of is under the Revocation Act, and what we're talking about, Mr. Prince, is the Revocation Paternity Act. I just want to make sure I was correct. This action should have been brought under the support case between Miss Peters and Mr. Zia. So the rule says the Revocation of Paternity Act, MCL, which is Michigan Compiled Law 722.1443, says if an action for support, custody, or parenting time of the child exists at any stage of the proceedings in the circuit court of this state, or if an action under the probate code is pending in a circuit court, that action under this act should be brought by a motion in the existing case. So that would be her case with Mr. Isaiah. You have to file a motion and intervene into that case to ask that his paternity be revoked, is my view. Let me just read through to make sure that. So what I'm saying is you need to file a motion under that DS case to revoke paternity and serve both Ms. Peters and Mr. Zaya. But let me just make sure I feel that's correct.
And Your Honor, just to add, when I first started to go down to the court and they had an open case, whoever at the courthouse was saying that I could not add to their case since it was already open. I would have to start my own new case. So that's
who do you remember who told you that?
No, it was one of the clerks. I didn't get her name though. So when I was told that months ago, that's why I just proceeded to open a new case on my own once again, since I had no knowledge or no way to contact Mr. Zaya to see how he felt about it. I don't even know how he felt about it. Once again, Your Honor, I just found out in December, so I didn't know that I had a child. But once I found out, me and the defendant, we had put parenting time in place. I had the child several days through the months. The child also knows me as her father as well. And she knows my
get
family.
you're making all the arguments of the Revocation Act, but you can't revoke Mr. Zaya's paternity without his participation.
I understand.
So I believe you got incorrect information prior, and this should be a motion under the DS case between Ms. Peters and Mr. Zaya. So I would say you need to refile this as a motion or as an action within that previous DS case, and serve Mr. Zaya as well. But you're saying you were advised previously not to do that.
Yes, but I definitely can try again because I
want to make clear in this order what I'm advising you to do.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to get the run around here. Yeah, I believe it has to be brought in the DS case between Ms. Peters and Mr. Zaya. So this is what I'm going to indicate. You have 21 days to object. So if you want to get a clear ruling, if you want to bring it before the court, you can, but I'm going to indicate a brief statement of facts here. All right, so I'm going to indicate plaintiff files this motion. Asserting he is the biological father of minor child Chloe, age 2. A judgment of support was previously, a default judgment of support was previously entered pursuant to case number 22-0773-DS. by which Kevin Robert Zaya was ordered to pay support for Chloe as her parent. New paragraph. Defendant Courtney Peters, friends, the biological mother of the child, and friends testified at motion hearing that she advised Mr. Prince. And you guys said, ma'am, you said you advised Mr. Prince in December of 2022 that he could be the father?
Yes.
All right. Testified that she advised plaintiff, Mr. Prince, in December of 2022 that he may be the minor child's biological parent. And you guys both participated in the paternity testing, both of you and your minor child, you all arranged that?
Correct.
Who performed the DNA testing?
Well, I performed the DNA testing on myself and my daughter, Chloe.
But what company was it? Did you guys use?
Oh my God. It was, I'll have to look at my email. Do you mind if I do that really fast?
Yeah, and sir, do you remember, Mr. Prince, who you participated in the paternity testing with?
Yeah, I'll have to look as well to see which company and which lab. I believe DNA lab testing, but I can double check real quick.
Mhm.
Yes, Your Honor. It was home DNA by the box. Home
All right.
DNA paternity, yeah, the CVS at home.
Okay, you guys got that at CVS?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm just gonna put that, and where did I leave off?
Defendant testified in motion hearing she has advised Mr. Prince in December 22 that he may be the minor child's biological parent.
All right. At that time, the parties and minor child performed a home DNA test purchased at CVS, which found plaintiff, Mr. Shantez Prince, to be Chloe's biological parent by 99.9% probability. New paragraph. Plaintiff testified that she has reconciled with Mr. Zaya, the defendant on the 2022 DS case, and he desires to remain the legal parent of Chloe, although he understands he is not the biological parent. New paragraph. Plaintiff in this action, Shantez Prince, did not include Mr. Zaya as a defendant in this matter. And this action was filed as a paternity case. and not a motion within the prior support case pursuant to Revocation of Paternity Act. All right. Therefore, one, present action is dismissed for the reason that pursuant to the Revocation Paternity Act, MCL 722.1443, comma, quote, if an action for support, comma, custody, comma, or parenting time of the child exists at any stage of the proceedings in the circuit court of the state, comma, an action under this act shall be brought by motion in the existing case under rules adopted by the Supreme Court, period, end quote. Two, should plaintiff in this matter, Shantez Prince, wish to revoke the paternity of the affiliated father, Kevin Zia, in the support action, he shall file a motion in the 2022 support case and serve Mr. Zia as a defendant. All right, so I believe that this is incorrectly filed as a DP case, but I'm not going to give this interim effect. So, sir, you can talk to an attorney, you can file objections. So while I'm recommending it be dismissed, it's not automatically dismissed. I believe that pursuant to the Revocation Act and that provision that I cited, you have to bring this as a motion in the prior support case between Ms. Peters and Mr. Zia, and serve him as also a defendant in that case so he can have his say, because he's determined to be this child's, Chloe's father. He's the legal father. He might not be the biological, but right now under the law, he's her dad. You have to serve him with that motion as well. I am not going to give this interim effect. I'm going to give you 21 days to object, which is your right before it would get dismissed. So if you think I got it wrong, you can object and go before Judge Jokic and say, hey, I don't think the referee got it right to dismiss this case. I think I can bring this new case and not file much motion under the previous case. Or you can go get legal advice, talk to legal counsel, see if they think I got it wrong. But you have 21 days to seek legal advice or file your objections. But what I'm saying is you have to refile this as a motion under that case to serve both Ms. Peters and Mr. Zia. Now, if you think I got it wrong, talk to somebody. You have 21 days to object.
No. I totally hear you.
Okay.
So here's my thing. Do I need their case number as well, the Diaz case, to
it's in this order. Everything I said is in this order.
Oh, okay. And that'll be sent via email.
Yep, you guys both going to get a copy of this order and the objection procedure via email. I'm not going to give it interim effect. You have 21 days to object. So if you want to talk to legal aid or an attorney, and if they think I got it wrong, or that you can do it either through a motion or as a new paternity action, I believe, and you can look up that number that I put in there, that Michigan compiled law, and you can read it and see if you think I got it right or wrong. You're welcome to do that, but I believe this should have been brought as a motion within the prior support case.
Totally understand.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
But you can check with somebody. If someone else here told you something different, I feel bad. And that's why you might want to get independent legal advice. But I do believe it should be in that support action, because that's the action that determined Mr. Zia to be the father. And that's the case that should be set aside, or he should be overturned as the father in that case. But you do have 21 days to object. If no one objects, this will become the final order of the court. And we're going to email you a copy of this order and the objection procedure. And so you guys might want to talk, Ms. Peters. This is what I suggest. This is not an order. You guys need to talk. You let Mr. Prince know he's the dad. He now found out to be the dad, but now you have Mr. Zia who wants to be the dad and says, I want to be the legal dad. I don't want to be the dad. You guys need to sit down and talk about how you want to resolve this, y'all. Does that make sense?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what I would suggest. It doesn't mean you can, but I would suggest that might, you guys need to figure out If he wants to be, let Mr. Prince be the dad, and then, he just maintains a relationship with Chloe, and Chloe can have two dads, or if he's going to fight Mr. Prince in court and say, even though he's the bio dad, I want to be the legal dad, and I don't want him to have rights. That's really what you're looking at here. Probably the court's going to find it's in the best interest at such a young age that Mr. Prince does have rights. How that's going to look, however, I'm not quite sure. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. But we're going to email you a copy of this order and the objection procedure, and you both have 21 days to object. Okay. All right, guys, you're all
Thank
set.
you, Your Honor.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too.
There we go.